The period in which worked this woman is developed as the second computer generation, which go from 1952 to 1964. This is when the bulb is replaced by the transistor. In this generation, the first commercial computers appear, which already had a previous programming that would be the operating system. They interpreted instructions in programming language. In this way, the program wrote his program in those language, and the computer was able to translate it into machine language. The most used language were COBOL and Fortran.
Grace Hopper was born on the 9th of December 1906 in New York City. From an early age, she was a very curious and intelligent child. She attended preparatory school at Hartridge School in Plainfield, New Jersey. Later, she graduated from Vassar College in 1928. She left Vassar with a bachelor's degree in math and physics. The following year, Grace Hopper began teaching math at Vassar College, where she got her bachelor's degree. In 1934, her seminal dissertation, New Type of Irreducibility Criteria, was published. Grace married a professor at New York University, Vincent Foster Hopper, in 1930, but the couple later divorced in 1945. But she decided to maintain her married surname. In 1952, she had her first operational link loader ready. It was known as the AO compiler. Her early compiler was able to translate math notation into machine code. This was fine for mathematicians, but not much for data processors, because they hadn't got necessary skill to work with the link loader. She reasoned it would be better to create a way of directly translating human language into machine code. This was the real beginning of COBOL, a powerful computer language for data processors that is still in use today. She would later go on to lead a successful naval career and highly successful computer science career. First, she joined the United States Naval Reserve due to she was rejected in the US Navy because of the fact that she was older than other recruits. Also, her weight to height ratio was lower than the minimum requirement. Despite being rejected, she joined the reserve, and because of her excellent career as mathematician and associate professor at Vassar, also meant she was deemed too valuable for the nation. Finally, she got upgraded and she could help her nation in the Second World War. Grace died on New Year's Day, 1992, in her sleep of natural causes. She was at her home in Arlington, Virginia at the time.
Informática is the first high-level language oriented to the field of management. It was created by the official Grace Murray Hopper in 1955 for Univac. It established the concept of programming languages based on natural language words, and in 1960 the first version of COBOL language was presented. The COBOL language, acronym for Common Business Oriented Language, was created with the objective of creating a universal programming language that could be used on any computer, since in the 1960s there were incompatible computer models, and that it was oriented mainly to business, that is to say, to the code management computing. The Code Asylum Commission participated in the creation of this language, composed of computer manufacturers, users, and the United States Department of Defense. In May 1959, it was inspired by the Informática language of the official Grace Hopper and the IBM Comtran of Bob Bemer, since both were part of the commission. And despite the fact that many people believe that the COBOL language is deprecated, the reality is that almost all systems that require large batch processing capacity, both banks and other large companies with mainframe systems, use COBOL.
During 1950, when the business were growing in the western part of the world, there was a need to automate various processes for ease of operation, and this gave birth to a high-level programming language meant for a business data processing. One must understand the way COBOL works. Computer only understand the machine code, a binary flow of 0 and 1. The COBOL code is responsible for converting other language into a code that the system understands using a compiler as follows. The compiler first checks for syntax error and then converts into machine language. It creates an addpath file that is known as a loading module. These addpath files contain executable code in the front of 0 and 1, and ready and testable. COBOL was the first widely used high-level programming language. It is a language similar to English, which is easy to use, allowing it to be decoded in simple English words. It is also used as a self-document language. It can handle great data processing and is compatible with all its previous versions. COBOL has effective error message and therefore error resolution is easier.
Once we reach the origin, functionality, and use of the COBOL programming language in the past, we must focus on the present time. At the same time, we think about the future. Does COBOL have any relevance today? The answer is yes. Nowadays, COBOL corresponds to 65% of the active code used, in addition to executing the 85% of all commercial transactions. So it's clear that its impact on the world of programming and computing in general has had a great impact. However, none of this would have been possible without Grace Hopper, whose visionary mind gave her the idea of creating the programming